All right, welcome back and welcome if you're just joining us. Like Ambria, welcome to you. Good morning. All right, y'all. So I know community reading ran a little bit late, but again, um, I enjoyed our conversation, so that's okay. And we don't have too much to really get into today. It's mostly just you guys getting caught up on work. Okay, so if you have been in class with us, then we've been talking about um, we talked about like vignettes, which are those little kind of short um, narrative moments that when you put them all together help tell a bigger story. So things like flashbacks and memories and all that stuff, and why they're important, how they can help us tell a story, um, and knowing that that's what you know Yagayasa uses in Homegoing, the story that we worked with. So now it turns to you guys, kind of doing that with a story of your own that you come up with, and that's going to be our kind of final product here, right? So if you were with us last class, I'm going to share my screen here. If you were here last week, then you should remember that we worked on, excuse me, this brainstorming activity. If you weren't here, this doesn't look familiar. Oh, excuse me. If you weren't here, this doesn't look familiar. You can find it under checkpoint 2. It says 3 on mine, but on yours it'll say checkpoint 2, narrative outline on Summit, which you should all have been assigned. Okay. And what you're doing in this activity, what you should have had done already, is answered these prompts in all of the boxes over here to help you come up with some background information about yourself that you can use to start crafting a story. Okay. So if you have finished this, then the next step is going to be doing the actual checkpoint, which is your narrative outline right here. Okay. Now, also keep in mind, just as a note, for people who are trying to get caught up, that checkpoint 1 should also have been done, which is, or at least the first section of checkpoint 1 should also have been done, which is the reading notes section, and it should have been the chapter for Effia that we read together. I would have liked to have gotten to more of this, but it's a little tough, obviously, to do a whole book when we're teaching virtual like this. But we tried it, and now we know. So you should have that first section in the reading notes done, and now we're looking at the checkpoint 2, the narrative outline. Okay. So again, after you finish this brainstorming activity, all right, then you can move to the actual checkpoint, which looks like this. Okay. Questions on any of this so far? Anybody who is lost or not with me or unsure on where we're finding this? Okay, awesome. So then once you finish your brainstorming activity and you move on to the checkpoint, and I am going to be looking for both of those to be done, right? To be like all the way green. Okay. Once you're doing the actual outline, again, it's just one of those things where you are following these prompts. Okay. So again, the way we're going to tell this story is through those kind of 3 vignettes. So like if you remember, we watched the beginning of the movie Up, and they kind of tell, they give us the background of Carl by showing us all those little flashbacks. And so all of them put together kind of tell a bigger story. You're going to kind of do the same thing, except you're just going to focus on 3. You're going to have one for the past, one for the present, and one for the future. So and how you do that can be up to you. Like maybe you start in the present, and then you flash back to the past and flash forward to the future. Maybe you start in the future and then you flash back to the present and then flash back to the past. However you want to tell this story. Okay. And what we'll do Friday is we'll look at some examples of this to help us, get some more ideas if we're still kind of having a tough time with this. But to do this outline, very simple. All you're doing is just answering these prompts again on the boxes over here for each section. So, like it says in the first one, who is the main character and what is their relationship to you? Okay. So you're coming up with, you know, the characters and all this stuff since it is your story. So this can be something you make up. It can be based on people in your life that you already know that you can kind of, use real people but make up a fictional story, or anything like that. Um, and then you're just filling all this information out accordingly. So, for example, if I was filling this out for myself, okay, get my demo notebook here. If I was filling this out for myself, who's the main character and what is their relationship to you? So again, this is something that I am making up, but maybe I say, and again, you can do this in complete sentences, bullet points, whatever you prefer. But maybe I'd say the main character is Jeffrey, and he is my long lost brother, right? Now, obviously, that's not true. I don't have a long lost brother named Jeffrey. But again, we're making up a story here. So you can kind of, embellish the truth or, think about things like that. If you wanted to, if it's easier for you to just base it on, actual stuff. All right. Hey, Deja, welcome back. Glad you were able to join again. All right. What we're talking about
My
right now.
phone had died. Sorry.
No worries. What we're talking about right now is checkpoint. It says 3 on mine, but on yours it'll say checkpoint 2, the narrative outline, which is what everybody can be working on after they finish this brainstorming activity that we were working on last week. Okay, both of those are on Summit, so that's kind of where we are right now, just to keep you in the loop. All right. So again, these are all things that are up to you. You're creating the story, so you can make them up. You can base them on real people. Like if I wanted to do that, I could say the main character is Todd, right? And he's my cousin. So you can think about the family tree assignment that we did earlier. Part of the reason we did that was to explore like our ancestors, our heritage, things like that. So you could base it on one of those people too. Like if you wanted to tell like a fictional story of, your one of your ancestors and then how they eventually, relate back to you, you could do it that way too. All right. And so maybe I wanted to do that instead. So lots of different ways we can do this here. So if, just for example's sake, I'll do that. So I'll say the main character is Francesco, right? Uh, he's my great grandfather, which is actually true. That's like actually, my real great grandfather. Okay. And then I describe the main character. So this is, looks, um, attitude, right? Um, Likes, dislikes, um, stuff like that. Okay. Personality. All right. So, things like different character traits. And then if I want to come up with other characters, I can list them here. So maybe he has a wife, maybe he has kids, whatever it may be. All right, setting. Where and when does this vignette take place? Now, Francesco, like I said, is actually my great grandfather. So it would take place in Italy around the 1900s. Okay, because that's when he would have actually been alive and like coming over to America. And again, if you
We we only could do real life people, or we could do it like from a book or a TV show.
if you want to like I said, you can. This is your story, so if you want to um, use fictional characters, that's totally fine, as long as um, you're still following this format. All right.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, you can see, and it gives you some hints in each one. Like in some way, shape, or form, it should relate back to you, right? Just like the homegoing, the story that we read relates back to kind of the author or the main character and their ancestry. That's why you can see, like in the present one, name the main character, you or someone from the present, right? And then the future one, who is the main character and what's their relationship to you? So the easy way to think about this is, okay, when I fill out the box for the present, this should be either about me or somebody that I know, that's in my life right now. And then the one in the past and the one in the future, those are the ones where I can maybe embellish and be a little bit more fictional. And then I create a story, I create a narrative that kind of links them all together, just
Oh.
like just like they did at the beginning of Up, just like they did in our story Homegoing. And we'll look at a couple other examples of this Friday too, so you guys can get a even better idea of what I'm talking about here. All right. Did that answer your question, Jair?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So then I just keep filling this out. So setting, when does this take place? And then I'm gonna excuse me. And then I'm gonna just follow like the dramatic art here. So I have an introduction, a rising action. And so I list what my introduction would be. I list what my rising action would be. I list what my climax, falling action, and resolution. All those things. Have we heard of these things before? Are we kind of familiar with um, like the story arc and what all those things mean? Yes, no, maybe. Oop, that's not what I want. So just a real quick review here. All right. The introduction, this is where we're introducing the setting, the characters, kind of laying out the groundwork. And then the rising action, real quick, who can tell me what's happening here in the rising action when I'm telling a story? You can tell me in the chat, or you can come off mute real quick. All right. And Deja, I just saw your answer in the chat. That's no problem. Um, you're only doing that first section of that first checkpoint, since that's all we got to in the book, at least together as a class. And I'll put a link to the PDF version of the story in the chat for you right now too, in case you want to copy paste it and use it later. But you can always come to the lab.
I'm confused. What book is y'all talking about?
You can work on it there. So if you remember,
I wasn't here. That's why I said I don't know what
Yeah,
you're
I'm
talking
gonna
about.
keep it Benji.
okay.
I know the assignment. I don't know where the book at though.
Yeah, so I just put a link in the chat to like a PDF version of the book. You can use that. You can, again, come see me in the lab if you want to kind of like go through it with me, because I
Right,
have
right, right.
a copy of the book I can use, but those are going to be the best two places to find it. And Deja, I know you were not here in the beginning, so I apologize. That makes sense that you might not know off the top of your head what book we were talking about. Okay. So hopefully those questions are answered. All right.
That's the book on the Nearpod, right?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So just again, real quick review with this introduction. That's where we have, it's also called the exposition, where we're kind of laying out the groundwork. Rising action. This is where, okay, some stuff is starting to happen. And then, so maybe one or two events that's leading up to the climax, which, we should be familiar with. In a story, the climax is usually what? What happens in the climax? Who can help me with this real quick so we can keep moving here? Your climax is usually going to be what part of a story? Is the climax usually going to be more of like an introductory part? Is it going to be more of a little bit, maybe a little bit boring? Is it going to be more exciting? Is there going to be something happening in the climax, a big event maybe? Or is it going to be what kind of takes place, towards the end of the story? What usually happens in the climax of a story? Somebody can help me out with that real quick. You can come off mute. You can tell me in the chat. But I think at least somebody out there should be able to help me out with this one. All right, let's think about it a different way. If we look at it as like a true or false question, true or false, the climax is usually the most important part, the biggest, action or event in the story. Is that true or false if I say that? Anyone out there who can help me out with that question? And I know you were just talking on your chat and asking me those other questions, so I know you're still out there. All right, well, in case we have gone blank, climax is going to be the big event, the most important part of that story. So as you're, telling this vignette, like, okay, the thing that happened in the past, we have an introduction, we have a rising action, we have a climax, a big event. And then the falling action would be, okay, what happens immediately after? And then how does it get resolved, the resolution? So like, this is like, they all lived happily ever after, or something like that, okay? And then you're going to have one of those for each kind of vignette here. So each one is going to kind of be like its own little story, and they're going to work together to tell a bigger picture, right? So maybe what my goal is when I tell my story is how, my great grandfather comes over from Italy, and eventually, because of him, I'm able to do, something in my life that's going on today. And so I kind of, tell that story, and I start with him in Italy, and now I flash forward to the present, and then I flash forward to the future and kind of link them all together. Okay. And so you'd fill out this outline accordingly based on all those facts. All right. Or excuse me, not facts, based on all those prompts over here on the left-hand side. All right. So is this making sense to everybody? Anybody with questions on this? Right, no questions on that. All right, then, ladies and gents, here's what I would like from you for the rest of today, okay? I'm going to share my screen again one more time. But if you are still not done with the brainstorming prompts activity that looks like this, all right? Actually, I lied. It doesn't look like that. Hang on. There we go. All right, so brainstorming prompts activity looks like this. We talked about it last week. I want you to finish that first because this will help you get a lot of ideas to use in your story. And then once you finish this, then you can go to the actual checkpoint up here. So brainstorming prompts is like the first link, and then the actual checkpoint up here, narrative outline. On mine it says 3, but on yours it'll be checkpoint 2. Okay. So when you finish the brainstorm, then you can go to the actual checkpoint and start filling out this outline. You can do them both right on Summit. And then what you're requesting feedback on is going to be the outline. Okay. The rest of the time today, I'm going to give to you guys to work on this. All right. I'd like to see these done by the end of this week, so that you have all of next week to work on the final product, which will be, writing the actual story. Okay. Usually we would do like a draft in there, but depending on time, we might have to skip the draft and just go right to like, hey, submit your final product, and then I'll tell you if you need to change anything. Okay. So two things that you are working on right now is the brainstorming prompts activity, and then the narrative outline. So the outline is checkpoint 3. The brainstorming activity is, right underneath should be the first link. You want to do the brainstorm first and then the checkpoint. Okay. Questions on any of that? All right. And hey, Rashawn, I see you just joined us. Let me double check if you are in the right spot. I do not see you on my list for this morning, Rashawn. So I think I might have you Mondays and Thursdays. So I would double check your roster, make sure you're in the right link, right? Tuesday, Friday, first period is the one that you want. All right. So let me know if you can't figure out where to go. I'll try to get you there. All right. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, the rest of us, that's what we should be working on now. If you're not at your laptop currently, make sure you have taken notes, screenshots, whatever you need, so that you know what to do. If you are at your laptop, this would be a great time to get started on whichever one of those you need to start with, either the brainstorm, or if you finish the brainstorm, the checkpoint. But I know not a lot of us have finished the brainstorm when I was checking stuff for progress reports. So most of us are probably going to need to start there. So I'm going to put myself on mute and give you guys the rest of our time this morning to work on this. So if you want to, well, before we do this, okay, Rashawn, I'm not sure. I don't have your schedule, but if it says Mr. Townsend for Monday, or excuse me, for Tuesday, Friday, first period, then yeah, that's the link you should be in. So let's do this, ladies and gents. If you can, I want you to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down on, yes, I understand what I need to work on and what's due with this checkpoint would be thumbs up. If you don't have a thumbs up, then just tell me yes. Thumbs down or no would be like, hey, I'm still a little lost and unsure about what's due. Maybe I need to come to the lab to get some help. Okay. If you can put that in the chat for me real quick, so we can kind of just get a check for understanding here. And then you guys are going to be free to work on this however you want. If you want to leave the chat, work offline, that's fine. If you want to stay in the chat in case you have questions and work on it here with me, that's fine too. But whatever you guys want to do, that's up to you. Just know that that is what I'm going to be looking for to be done by the end of this week. Okay. So if you can, please give me in the chat a thumbs up, thumbs down on whether or not you understand the checkpoint and what you need to have done. I haven't seen any come in the chat yet, so I'm looking for those before we start to get out of here. And then once I have that in the chat from you, you are free to work on this. Thank you, Ambria. You are free to work on this either here in the chat with me in case you have, if you want to stay here in case you have a question, or if you want to leave the chat and start working on it on your own. that's fine too, because that's all I have for everyone today. And then when we come back Friday, we'll check everyone's progress on this. We'll look at a few examples of some other kind of stories told with vignettes, and then it'll just be more time to get this done and caught up, because I know the term is coming to an end. All right. So Ambria has responded in the chat. Everybody else, please do the same if you can. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. You know that you understand what you need to work on and have done with this checkpoint and the brainstorm activity. Okay. So that's what I'd like to see in the chat. I'm going to put myself on mute, and the rest of the time is for you guys to work on this. If you want to stay in the chat, that's fine. If you want to jump off the chat and work offline, that's fine too. I will see you again on Friday. That's all I have for y'all today. Okay. So please let me know in the chat if you have questions or don't understand anything. Okay. Thank you guys.